If you are not going to show up for you, who do you think is going to show up for you? Now, Seneca once said, we must treat the body rigorously so that the mind will not disobey. And I believe we all need to start taking that outlook more seriously. We need to view the things we do as keeping our mind in check. When you tell yourself, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock this morning, and 5 o'clock rolls around and your alarm goes off, and you're a little tired, and you say, 5 more minutes, what's the big deal? 5 o'clock or 5:05? And then 5:05 rolls around and you get up. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that 5 minutes is trivial, it's is what it is, and you can make it up at many other points during the day. But it's so much deeper than that, because it's about getting that win over your mind. It's about keeping your word to yourself. Because if you don't, no one's going to show up for you. No one's going to show up at 5 a.m. and say, no, you got to get up. Like, you told yourself you would get up. And once you start giving in a little bit, you give the mind an inch, it's going to take a mile. And then you start snoozing 5 o'clock. You start doing things of that nature throughout your life. You know, you say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later, I'll do it then, so on and so forth. And then you end up just falling more and more off until you look back in the past and you're just a mere shadow of what you used to be. Your discipline used to be crazy. You were on it. You're still on it, but you're just more lax now. You allow yourself to snooze for 30 minutes. You don't go as hard in the gym. You allow yourself to not eat as healthy, so on and so forth. And I think it's good to view this stuff as, well, first off, you can't compare yourself to others. That's the thief of joy, and I think the thief of unlocking your potential. If you're going to compare yourself to others, let it be to somebody that is miles ahead of you, so that you don't get complacent. But when you say, everyone's telling you, you're too serious with your diet, or you're too serious with yourself, or, you're working too hard, don't listen. Because the second you start listening, you're in a constant battle with your mind. And people who don't have goals, and people who aren't striving for anything, don't realize that. And when they try to let you ease off a little bit, it's never, if you ease off this much, it's never just that much. Because in the mind, the mind gets a foothold in. The mind gets some leverage. And then this much turns into this much, turns into a bunch. And you just can't let that happen. And we need to view these things as, it's so much more than just getting up 5 minutes earlier. It's about keeping your word to yourself and telling your mind, no, you do not control me. No, I do not listen to this resistance, this lower self that is trying to get me to ease off a bit. Because the second you do that, it realizes it can beat you in other places too, and it will. You give it an inch, like I said, it's going to take a mile. So it's so much more important than, you can look at, oh, the health benefits of going to the gym, and the health benefits of running, the health benefits of cold therapy, heat therapy, so on and so forth. But then when you're in the midst of that, suffering, when you don't want to do it, and you say, and your why is health benefits, then that's a foothold for your mind, because you can start telling yourself, oh, I've gotten enough of the health benefits. I'm I do this every day. I do this all the time. I mean, I'm definitely getting enough health benefits, and I might even be detrimental with how hard I'm going, with how obsessed I've been. Maybe it'd be better to just ease off for a day. And, that may be true. But that's why I don't think we should have the mindset of doing things for health. We should have the mindset of doing things to improve our mindset, to help us conquer our minds. That is what we should be going into these endeavors with the why, because the why will come up when it's 5 o'clock in the morning and you don't want to hit the snooze, and you get up and you go in the shower, and you're looking at the knob, and you told yourself that you were going to, at the end of the shower, put it cold, and you were going to sit in there for however long. If your only reason is for health benefits, then you can easily, I think, talk yourself out of that. You can say at 5 a.m. I mean, I read that study once. It's good to sleep 8 hours. I only slept 7.5 hours. You know, and you can get in the shower and you can say, well, it's better to just do a cold shower. I'll do it tomorrow because I already did hot shower, so it's not even worth it anymore. I'll just do a cold shower tomorrow. And saying you'll do something tomorrow is the biggest lie ever told. Do it now. If it's worth doing tomorrow, it's worth doing today. And if you can do it now, do it. We only live in the present. We do not live in the future. And do not place these burdens on future you. Accept them as present you. And then if you become the person who accepts challenges in the present moment, you will always accept the challenge. But if you become the person who puts it off to the present challenge to the future, that's all you ever do in the present. I think it's essential to realize that we are who we are in the present moment, and that future you is just a different present moment you. So however you act in this present moment is how you're going to act in that present moment. So if you say tomorrow today, tomorrow you're going to say the next day tomorrow, because that's what present you does. Present you now is no different than present you tomorrow, unless you change present you today. And I think I just want to hammer home that point that this should be done for mindset purposes, for principle, strictly on principle. When you tell yourself, all right, I'm going to start fasting, intermittent fasting, 14 hours a day. I'm going to eat in 10-hour blocks. And, you're 13 and a half hours into your fast, and, you're getting hungry, and you're about to go do something, and you're like, oh, if I don't eat now, then I'm going to have to wait 15 hours, and then you just eat. It's like, I'm not saying that these things aren't understandable. I'm not saying that these things are not bound to happen occasionally. But I am saying that these are the things the resistance, the lower self, the mind love. Because then they got a foothold. Because then they're like, we got them 30 minutes. Tomorrow, let's see if we can do it again. And then tomorrow, you do it again. All right, now let's see if we can get it an hour. And then before you know it, you're not even fasting anymore. You're waking up, eating. Right before you go to bed, you're eating. And then you're like, how did this happen? And it all started from that one day where you laxed 30 minutes and you gave your mind an inch. And if we can view doing these exercises and these things that are difficult, not for our health, but for our mind, I think it'll be easier not to give an inch. Because yes, in the grand scheme of things, if you're already healthy, then one piece of cake or one pizza or one anything isn't going to kill you. But if you told yourself you weren't going to do it, and you do it, you're killing your mind, you're killing your mindset, and you're letting it control you. And the mind is a horrible master. The mind The mind is an amazing servant, but a horrible master, said David Foster Wallace. And he's so true. He's so right. So sometimes you strictly got to do stuff on principle. You can say, I was supposed to fast until 11 a.m. today, and it's 10:59, and your food's sitting right in front of you. Wait a minute. Strictly on principle. Strictly so you tell your mind, no, I'm still in control here. We don't do things on your time. We do things on my time. We do things when I feel like it, not when you feel like it. We get up when I want to, not when you want to. We do the work when it's time to do the work, not when you feel like doing the work. We keep our word. And this is how you can become a person you admire. And go back to the point where I said, don't compare yourself to others. You can't be comparing yourself to others because if you're trying to live like the 1%, there's a good chance who you're comparing yourself to is not trying to live like you. If you're striving for greatness, if you're striving to unlock your potential, if you're striving to do something worthwhile, you're in the top 1%. And if you compare yourself, there's a 99% chance that you're going to compare yourself to somebody who is not striving like you are. And the mind loves that. The mind says, see, look, he's fine. He's not over there dying, just chill out a bit, like lax up. But you can't do that because the mind will you give the mind an inch, it's going to take a mile. You can't do that. If you're going to compare yourself, make sure you have a worthy ruler. Seneca also said, what is crooked cannot be straightened without a ruler. So if you're crooked, choose a straight ruler. Choose a good model to model your life after. Choose somebody who is going to, whenever you look to them as an example, remind you how far you still have to go. Not make you feel like you're taking life too serious. Not make you feel like you've gone too far. Because in this day and age, it's too easy to just look around. And if you have a very good mindset and you're striving for greatness, there's a good chance that whoever you look at is not as obsessed as you, and they're not as striving as hard as you. And if you ask them, maybe to evaluate your day or um, something of that nature, they look at you like you're a madman because of your schedule, because of how crazy you are, because of how determined and obsessed you are, and how you don't do this and you don't do that. But if you go to somebody else who's living like you do, they'll find pinholes. They'll say, "Oh, why this then? You could have done this then, and that would have, boosted your productivity and this, that, and the other." And it's more. There's more to life than productivity. But in this day and age, so much time is wasted, and there's more to life than wasting time. The same people who tell you, productivity isn't everything, are the same people who spend 3 hours on social media, 2 hours watching Netflix, you know, and so like just waste so much time. And they're like, chill out. There's more to life than, working. And it's like, oh, okay, like what? Oh, well, wasting your time on social media, watching TV. It's like, if you're gonna tell me that, at least be like a Buddhist monk or something who spends 7 hours a day meditating. Because then I could be like, all right, that's, at least your mindset's crazy. Or be someone who's like, oh yeah, I like David Goggins or something, like, oh yeah, I go in for like 100-mile bike rides and then 40-mile runs, and then I get a nice little get a nice weightlifting workout in. It's like, oh yeah, okay. But if you're telling me to chill out, if you're telling me to relax, or if anyone telling you these things and their lifestyle is that of lax, I mean, listen to them at your own at your own peril, because you'll just end up wasting a bunch of time doing mindless nonsense. And I mean, if that's really how you want to spend your one life on this earth, then be my guest. But I don't know, if you're watching this video, I don't think you want that. I think you want more. I think you want greatness. I think you want discipline. And I think you want to control your mind. Because no one likes realizing that they're the type of person who says one thing and does another. And if that's you, your mind is your master. And the mind is a horrible master. You'll only do things when you feel like it. And that's horrible for you if you're trying to do anything great, because you're not going to feel like it day in and day out. You're not going to want to do it all the time. And then when you don't want to do it, if your mind's your master, you simply won't. But if you're the master and you tell your mind, no, no, we're doing it, then you can become someone that when you look at in the mirror at night, you're proud of. And you realize no one in this world will keep their word to me. Well, you realize no one in this world is going to show up for you other than you. So if you're not going to show up for you, you're basically leaving yourself in the dust. You're letting life happen to you instead of happening to life. And I think that's the mindset shift we need. We need to change. Happen to life.